In 2016, there were 23.5 million visits to A&E departments across England alone. The medical staff who run these departments are tasked with the huge responsibility of saving lives on a daily basis. Today, I've come to St George's Hospital in London to see what it's like to work in a major trauma centre. So let's see what's going on. Almost as soon as I started my shift on the unit, the doctors received their first trauma call.
Please have a person to recess.
So there's been a trauma call, you've been alerted that somebody's coming in. How much do you know at this stage?
We know it's an adult male being hit by a van about 30 miles an hour, probably has a head and a pelvis injury.
Gosh, okay.
But is awake and alert.
Okay, so has that call now gone out to other members of the team?
Yes,
Will they be arriving?
yeah, you'll hear bleeps going off in the background and the rest of the team will come down to the recess room.
As the patient arrived, our cameras were swiftly moved aside so the team could begin treatment. He's talking, he's conscious, so that's a great sign. They're just assessing him now so they can work out what they need to do, but lots of people are arriving as I speak from all over the hospital. The patient is known as Danny Waller, a 28-year-old who was hit by a fast-moving van while he was on his way to meet a friend.
It was described as bullseyeing the windscreen with his head, which is a mechanism that suggests a significant potential head injury in somebody like this.
What's happening now? What decisions have been made?
Where he's been involved in being hit by the car, he's got some external signs of a head injury. So what we're worried about is he's got some bleeding on his brain. So one of the signs of people having bleeding on their brain is that they're confused, they're sort of repetitive, and quite often they don't want to have medical treatment because they don't understand what's going on.
After a major incident like the one Danny had, it can be common for patients to suffer uncontrolled bleeding. New research by the Centre for Trauma Sciences is trying to treat that problem. Funded by National Institute for Health Research and Barts Charity, the pioneering treatment could help to clot blood more quickly. So how will this revolutionise the future of blood transfusions in trauma patients?
Bleeding is really the only preventable cause of death in trauma. If we can get to the patient soon enough and we can give products to stop the bleeding, then we can reverse that process.
So looking forward, once this study is complete, how will this improve care for patients in the future?
So if the study is positive, it will tell us that actually giving early and high doses of cryoprecipitate, the building blocks for the blood clot, it will actually save lives because it will stop that bleeding and actually reduce the overall blood transfusion requirements for that patient.
Back at the trauma unit, the doctors feared Danny may have some internal injuries, so he was taken for a brain scan. So the patient's been sedated. This is a CT scanner here and they're about to do the scan now so we can find out whether or not, very importantly, there is a bleed on the brain. While we waited for Danny's results, I was keen to find out what life is like for staff working in the trauma unit on a daily basis. How do you cope with seeing trauma like this day in, day out?
In some respects, you kind of get a bit used to it because you do see it on most occasions. And I think you kind of, because you kind of get used to it, you kind of switch off when you get home. You don't sort of think about this stuff. You know, I've got 3 kids, a wife, and so on. And you know, you go into that mode when you walk through the front door and try and put this stuff behind you.
Do you think it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that?
I guess so, because not everyone chooses to do this job, clearly, and the people that do this job are fairly self-selected and wanting to do this kind of work. So yes, I guess the answer is yes.
It was only a short while before Danny's results came in, so I headed off to review the findings with radiology registrar Matthew. What can you see so far on his images?
So far we looked at his brain and that looks okay. Just looking through the rest of his body and haven't seen anything too worrying at the moment.
And they were particularly concerned about whether or not he'd had some bleeding on the brain from his head injury. Can we see that yet?
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
He doesn't?
Yeah,
okay, that's good news. That's good news. Being caught up in a trauma incident not only affects the patient, but their families as well. He's had the CT scan, kind of quite amazingly, really. Everything seems to be all right.
Quite rightly, if I'm, you know, considering the circumstances and, you know, what you hear.
How quick they've done it today.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. They said between an hour and 2. It must have been about 45 minutes, and they were back in.
But they've kept you updated every single time, you know.
Yeah.
Take my hat off to them.
Yeah.
Amazing.
My time at the trauma centre has been really interesting. It's been great to observe how the whole team pulls together to deliver such amazing care. And I, for one, am definitely glad that they're here.